Welcome back to DreamHack Montreal 2018, live from the Olympic Stadium. My name is Cora Georgiou, and joining me for our fourth and final round of the day is 2014 Hearthstone World Champion, Firebat. How you holding up, man? I know you had a pretty long break in there.
Yeah, pretty good. I casted the first game 7 hours ago, so yeah. It's been a while. I feel like I'm coming out of casting retirement all over again.
You came back for one match, went into retirement for 8 hours, and now you're back. Well, it's really awesome having you back. You haven't done a DreamHack event in quite a while, so super cool having you behind the desk. And in case you hadn't seen Orange in the last 10 minutes, we're going to be having him back on stream. And he just had a 3-2 victory over Swids. It was a very long, very grueling match. Any takeaways from that one?
It was pretty exciting. I liked the part where Orange actually milled his entire own deck to play around the Togwaggle combo. It's always fun to see cards that are typically, or downsides of cards, used in a way that ends up having great success. So milling your own deck to win a game is something you don't see every day, and it's really interesting to be able to spot that and use it effectively.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's going to be able to find those fringe win conditions, it is a player like Orange, the DreamHack Summer 2017 champion. He has plenty of experience here, and he's going to be going up against Justsaiyan. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the rest of the players and how they are faring across the field. We are 4 rounds in today, and so far our 3-0 players, you can see them all up on the screen. Some very prominent names: Amnesiac, Impact, Language Hacker, who went 9-0 in the Swiss at DreamHack Austin this year, Doc Pone, resident Canadian, Fino, Monsanto, Boston, Justsaiyan, who we're going to be seeing up against Orange, and then I believe Yarla is going to be in our second match of the round, and then Gallon and Leadpaint, very prominent names here, sitting undefeated so far.
A lot of players with similar lineups too. If we look at Amnesiac, Justsaiyan, Leadpaint, and Muzzy, I know, all prepared together and all brought the exact same deck lists from speaking to them earlier before the tournament. So it's interesting to see just the consistency and power level of their lineup throughout the course of the tournament. They were telling me that they credit their lineup to stats. They have a college stats professor helped them build their lineup, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. He's a Twitch chat viewer, and I guess he contacted them and helped them build their lineup.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
I have never heard of anybody doing that before, but that is really, really cool. And then casually just throwing in there Hunter Ace, currently regarded as the best player in the world, 3-0 here at this tournament as well. So a very broad field, some very similar lineups, like you were saying. Whether enlisting the help of a stats professor is cheating or not, I guess we'll leave that up to you guys, but I think it's just pretty dang smart.
Yeah, it seems to be working too, with everyone in that group at 3-0 except for Muzzy, who's at 2-1, right? Yeah, he was able to narrowly lose on stream, unfortunately for him, but yeah, it's been working out quite well for that group.
Yeah, Tempo Storm, #1 in the team standings after the first season, followed closely after by Fade to Karma, one of the other top teams, performing very well. And we see Fino sitting at that 3-0 as well. Glazer, unfortunately, lost in the 3rd round. Boar Control, I want to say, is 2-1 as well. So, so far, quite a good field, performing very well. 4 rounds today, 5 rounds of Swiss tomorrow. But let's get back to the match at hand. It is going to be undefeated Orange versus Justsaiyan. And you were saying before, Justsaiyan practiced with Leadpaint, Muzzy, Amnesiac to come up with this lineup that they brought today. Yeah,
the lineup of Token Druid, Death Rattle Hunter, Odd Rogue, and Even Warlock, with priority banning the opponent's Rogue. So we saw it played out before. It's an interesting lineup. It seems they don't have any sort of hard counter for Token Druid. They just kind of have a soft counter for Token Druid in the lineup. So it's kind of odd that, they don't have an answer for that. We saw Muzzy, they have some soft counters to it. They have some like mirror matches and matchups that aren't super unfavored or not super favored. So it's an interesting approach to not have a hard counter for that deck, but it's been working, so you can't fault him for that. Luckily for Justsaiyan in this series, Orange does not have the Token Druid. He's playing his Malagos Druid, which he's kind of known for. He's finished top 25 Legend with that deck more times than I can count.
We actually just saw Orange reverse sweep Swids in the last round with that Even Warlock, looking very, very powerful for him. So certainly the decks that are standing out to me as being the best performing in a last hero standing format so far are the Token Druid, the Even Warlock, and then the Quest Rogue, which we saw have a sweep on stream earlier today. You think that's about right?
Yeah, I think that's about right. Those are some of the Tier 1 decks, I would say, in the metagame. It's kind of interesting how things shift going from a Conquest format to a Last Hero Standing format, and how much they kind of stay the same as well. All of those decks are, you know, they have some matchups where they're super polarized and they can be used to counter queue, but at the same time, they're also very well-rounded decks that don't have too many things that just automatically do well against them.
Yeah, and that sort of seems like that's the strategy that Saiyan, Amnesiac, Muzzy, and Lead Paint brought, sort of that more well-rounded, no hard counter queue lineup, but it does make you the most consistent across the board. And we do actually now want to find out what you at home are thinking. Is it going to be Tempo Storm Justsaiyan, or are we going to be seeing Orange take his second consecutive victory on stream in this round? Make sure you are following twitch.tv/DreamHackHS, the channel that you are presumably watching right now, and then in that chat, go ahead and hashtag Orange or hashtag Justsaiyan, and we'll see which of you are rooting for which player, and ultimately which of you are right and who will be coming out on top in this series. Going to a 4-0 record on the first day of the tournament is huge. It's setting yourself up for success going into day 2. You know that you can take a couple of losses and still feel pretty comfortable about making that top cut.
Exactly, yeah. It's, you know, it's never a bad spot to be, winning every single game. I don't think anyone's ever said, oh, darn it, I'm 4-0, you know? So obviously you'd prefer to win rather than to lose, but 3-1's not the worst case scenario. But why put yourself through that? Why not just win everything?
Why not just win everything? You did that once upon a time, and I don't think you won World Championships by losing. Speaking of winning, who do you think is going to win this series? You have money on Orange, or are you thinking it's going to be Saiyan?
I think looking at the lineups, I would rather be in Orange's shoes. The bans went out, right? And we saw the Odd Warrior get banned away from Orange, and we saw the Token Druid get banned away from Justsaiyan. And it really just feels like this Quest Rogue from Orange does not have too much of an answer. We saw on stream earlier a Quest Rogue able to take down an Odd Rogue. I'm a firm believer that that matchup's a lot closer than the ladder statistics give it credit for. I think that's an area where stats maybe could be deceiving you.
A little skewed.
Yeah, a little skewed from playing ability and other factors like not knowing when mulliganing for and things like that on ladder, which then I think it's pretty close to 50-50. And if Orange can win with the Quest Rogue against the Odd Rogue, I think he's going to have an easy time sweeping the series with that Quest Rogue. So I tend to lead towards Orange on it, just based on the lineups.
It seems like Saiyan got, or Orange got the better of the bans here, banning away the Token Druid when Saiyan was banning the Odd Warrior because he wanted to protect his Token Druid. Yeah,
I think that was, throughout the entire course of the tournament, that entire group has always banned a Rogue. And I think maybe there was some mind games with that where, you know, Saiyan expected Orange to expect him to ban the Rogue, and then Orange went one level deeper or something. I don't know. The bans seem really odd, and I think they're going to skew the series a lot. It seems like they're in each other's heads already.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to give this one to Saiyan. I know that you think Orange is in favor for, you know, the sake of playing devil's advocate. I'm going to give it to Justsaiyan, but also I'm just a firm believer that Saiyan is low-key one of the best players in the world.
Sure.
He's very impressive every time we see him. Good guy, great practice team, and I do think that practice partners in Hearthstone are really, really relevant. So the fact that all of these players brought the same exact lineup, to me, indicates that they've done their research and they've done their work with this one. And let's find out finally what you all at home have decided. Are you voting for Orange, or are you voting for Justsaiyan? The results from the chat are, well, they're even. They're even.
It's a tie, 50-50.
Who knew?
No one knows who's going to be able to take it.
We'll get that working by tomorrow.
It's tough to predict who's going to win, for sure.
It's very difficult. In Last Hero Standing, a lot of it relies pretty heavily on who wins that first game.
Right.
If the counter queues do line up the way they're supposed to, the player that wins first should ultimately end up winning the series 3-2. Obviously, we saw in the last match on stream, that's not the way it went. Orange reverse swept with his even Warlock. So it's certainly not down to a definitive science of Hearthstone, but you know, we can obviously speculate.
It's hard to pick which deck you want to lead off first with. Orange wants to queue his Mally Druid into the Odd Rogue at some point. That's one of his best ways of taking care of that deck. If he's able to take care of that deck, he paves the way for the Quest Rogue to be able to sweep the series. So that makes you want to believe as Orange, he's probably going to open even Warlock, but then if you are too obvious with what you're going to open, then your opponent's going to get a, you know, one over on you. So Orange opting to just start off with his heavy hitter, open right up with that Quest Rogue. Queues a favorable matchup against the Death Rattle Hunter. And we're off to the races. This is, I agree, favored for the Rogue. Hugely so, I would say. I don't even want to say just a little bit, but hugely so. The Mossy Horror in Justsaiyan's hand is actually one of the most powerful, highest win rate cards according to HS Replay against the Quest Rogue, which seems weird because it costs 6, but he might even just keep Mossy Horror and Katharina. Those are both cards that win this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Katharina's a power spike card. This one certainly, if the Hunter can get, you know, egg down and run into Terrascale Stalker and play dead, they can build up a board that pressures the Rogue enough in the early game. Vanish is going to be a really powerful card for Orange in this matchup, just completely undoing all of the pressure that Saiyan puts on the board.
Yeah, and he is going to keep those greedy cards, and that's showing to his expertise. He knows about the data surrounding the matchup. It's super weird in Hearthstone to think, wow, I'm going to keep a 6-drop and an 8-drop against a deck like Quest Rogue, but just how it works out. And yeah, already a little bit punished that Katharina, his purpose in life is probably to pull the King Crush, and now it's going to be pulling some Grizzly Bears that are very good at defense, but what he really needs is offense.
He's not playing to prolong this game. If this game goes long, Orange is going to win every single time. Quest Rogue is the best deck in the game at winning in the long term once they finish their quest. The strategy is just so incredibly in favor of them, especially with Valera the Hollow and Giggling Inventor now in the deck. Saiyan just can't afford to wait that long.
Yeah, exactly, which is why it seems kind of counterproductive to keep such heavy-costed minions, but that's just how unfavored the matchup is that you need to kind of hit the curve and then also hit these minions specifically.
Yeah. And we actually haven't been seeing all that much of this specific type of Hunter in the tournament so far. It's been more of the Subject 9 secret package for Hunter with a little bit more mid-range minion action going on in the early stages. I do think that deck is probably a little bit more consistent against Quest Rogue just because you can Dire Maul, Crackling Razor Maul, Houndmaster, and, you know, it's a little bit more pressure in the early game, not as reliant on multiple card combinations.
Yeah, even that version of Hunter, I was speaking with some of the players that are kind of experts at it. I was talking with Board Control, and he said against Quest Rogue on turn 5 often, he thinks playing the Spellstone is wrong because it just plays into Vanish so hard that it's better just a hero power, and that you mulligan away the Spellstone against Quest Rogue.
Oh, Jesus. That is so going against everything you've ever been taught about how to play Hunter.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently turn 5 Spellstone charged up isn't very good in that matchup according to the data.
It's turn 5, turn your Spellstone into 4 wolves in your hand that you don't want to play.
Yeah, apparently. But Orange does not have the Vanishes or anything of that nature yet, but what he does have going for him is he's got the Novice Engineer, which he can start questing on. He's already has the Sonya, so if he's able to find a Charger later on, he can make that work. It's interesting. He could try and set up the Minstrel by using the Shadow Step that turn, but he wants to take it a little bit slower and just keep bouncing on this Novice, it looks like. Wants to have the Youthful Brewmaster in play, I guess. I don't know. I find that play odd. I would have preferred maybe Shadow Step and then be able to go Novice Minstrel next turn and more options. But he's kind of hard committing to the Novice a little bit early, I'd say.
The Brewmaster does actually work out quite well here. You get to pop the Devil's Store Egg and prevent Terrascale Stalker or play dead in the coming turns. It's a nice proactive play.
I don't really want a 5/5 hitting me in the face.
No, but I don't want potentially, you know, more than one 5/5 hitting me in the face.
I guess he doesn't have Vanish yet, so 5/5s coming out in multitude are a little scary. But we are going to see now the Shadow Step going on the Youthful Brewmaster.
Okay.
Okay, so now he can still use it to go back on the Novice if he wants.
There once was a man
I like it. It ends up working out just fine. A different way to kind of do the same play.
All right, now with double Shard pickup, he actually can switch gears a little bit and try to go for quest completion with that Glacial Shard. That's got to be the best minion to complete the quest with against this Hunter. You just shut down 100% all of the aggression early on. If there is a play dead, which we can see in hand for say, and just freeze that dinosaur, don't even worry about it.
Yeah, it's pretty ideal to quest on Glacial Shard. Against most of the aggressive decks, Glacial Shard is a really high win rate card when drawn. It's just the best defensive minion, I would say, to complete the quest on by a large magnitude.
Okay, so Saiyan taking this one a little bit slower. By keeping Mossy Horror and Katharina in hand, that does indicate that he wants to hold on to that coin to be able to use likely with the Katharina later on, and is not as worried about getting play down dead right now, especially knowing that, you know, Prep Vanish could come down this turn or just straight up Vanish next turn.
Yeah, it's super important to get the coin with the Katharina. There's no more powerful minion that Justsaiyan can play, and no more powerful usage for his coin than that. He's hoping to, at some point, you know, get the Katharina down, get lots of pressure on board, and then set Orange in a position where he has to defend himself with hopefully Giggling Inventor in his mind, and then use the Mossy Horror to break through the Giggling Inventor, pushing lots and lots of damage. But we can kind of see that that might not work out as planned, as Orange's hand is probably not going to need to rely on Giggling Inventor, as he does have the Prep Vanish, he has the Sonya, and the Glacial Shards. So he's got pretty much every aspect that he could possibly need of the Quest Rogue arsenal.
Yeah, Orange isn't really hurting for much here. The only thing he could really want would be maybe a Vicious Scale Hide to heal up a little bit, but if your opponent never deals damage to you, then you don't need to heal up. So, doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, still going to be trying to save that coin for the Katharina from Justsaiyan's side. He's in a pickle. He's got another flanking strike to maybe clean up one of these minions and then use the play dead. So he's just building gradual pressure, but it just feels so slow. It does not feel like it's going to be good enough, fast enough.
No, this Hunter deck thrives when it can be taken into the late game. With Deathstalker Rexxar, start building beasts, manipulating the minions that it plays. Very good against Warrior, reasonable against some of the other aggressive decks, but Quest Rogue just is not your average aggressive deck.
Yeah, Quest Rogue is one of the best control tools in the world in the form of Vanish against Hunter. Hunter just really struggles against Vanish, he struggles against Psychic Scream. He tries the whole game to build this powerful board of Death Rattle minions, and then Rogue is able to pick it up without actually triggering any of those Death Rattles and take care of business.
Feels so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you would expect that with a Hunter, because you have that aggressive hero power, you have tools like Kill Command in the class, that it should be a better archetype against Quest Rogue, but this Hunter deck in particular is putting so much into the Death Rattle package that it doesn't have room for Kill Command. Right,
yeah, there's no Kill Command, there's no Eagle Horn Bow, there's like really not too much aggression at all in the Hunter deck. Sometimes you can get like a really early cube play dead, which can lead to a lot of aggression, but
yeah.
Other than that, it's just all minion board-centric things, and that's what Quest Rogue is just really good at negating, is just
I hope you like my invention.
Orange has just had all the time in the world to finish his quest, to decide what he wants to finish the quest with, and opting ultimately for that Novice Engineer, even though Glacial Shard was a valid option.
Yeah.
With the Novice, he just gets to draw more and more cards, guarantee that after the quest is completed, he's not going to run out of minions to play, because that is a way that the Quest Rogue can lose. It's a rather fringe scenario, but if they go all in on something, complete the quest, you clear the board, and they have, you know, just one minion per turn, it's not unrealistic for them to lose the game that way.
Pretty early Vanish coming out from Orange. Not sure I really like the Vanish. I think he's maybe playing a little bit too much with these Novice Engineers. Would have liked to see him maybe set up some Glacial Shards there, but what he could be thinking about, he could be thinking about the Rexxar coming out from Justsaiyan, clearing up a bunch of his minions. He could be thinking about, you know, the Mossy Horror coming down. Those sort of things if he were to just Glacial Shard those 5/5s. But I think he might be starting to get a little bit too safe with this.
What to do?
He's taking it really slow. He had options to go a lot quicker, but he does have a little bit of luxury. I just hope he doesn't give himself too much leash to strangle himself with.
Yeah, you don't want him to be too defensive, especially since prep into the quest completion with minions on board is so aggressive, and he does have, you know, Glacial Shards that once he plays them will be aggressive and defensive at the same time after the quest is completed.
So he has the ability to start making his way towards completing the quest. He needs to make sure he doesn't overdraw the quest. That's an embarrassing moment if that happens. I've seen it happen before. There's been many players that have done it in tournaments on the big stage.
It's one of those things that you just forget sometimes. It seems like it should be the easiest thing in the world to not mess up, and then you do. And then you never do it again, hopefully.
Yeah, he's moused over his hand size a few times, so he knows that he has 10 cards in hand. He's very aware of the situation. The Glacial Shard coming out here, making sure, you know, not to be overdrawing the quest or anything like that.
I hope you like my invention.
Double deckhand now with Valera the Hollow as well.
So this is a great turn to have a bunch of minions spread wide on the board, because your opponent doesn't, Justsaiyan here does not want to Rexxar. He wants to Katharina. That's the whole point of saving the coin. Orange knows he's saving the coin. He wants to make a board where Justsaiyan gets pushed off the idea of Katharina and has to go for an alternative play, delaying the Katharina. So it wouldn't be too surprising to see something that's not Katharina come out here, even though the whole purpose of Justsaiyan's mulligan and saving the coin was for this. And Orange has a lot of information about that. He saw 2 cards kept in the mulligan. He saw it get them stay in the hand of Justsaiyan until turn 7. So you can reasonably pin what those cards are. And it comes down to either Rexar, Katharina, things of that nature. And so seeing the Mossy Horror comes out, Orange is probably very aware of Katharina.
Very aware of it, playing to try to disrupt Justsaiyan from his ideal game plan. And Saiyan has managed to build up a board with a fair amount of pressure here. Orange, with that quest completed, does not have a preparation to use alongside it. So with a hand as heavy as this is for Orange, this might be a little bit slower than his ideal turn to play the quest.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward. Using that early Vanish to complete the quest. It felt so safe at the time because it helped him protect his minions, but not having Vanish for now is looking a little scary.
We could see a coin King Crush here potentially from Saiyan.
No, just the Katharina. It's got the bears come out, and then it has a death rattle to pull another one. It's even more stats than King Crush, which is pretty ridiculous.
With one Vanish already having been played from Orange, Saiyan knows that it's rather unlikely that he has the second copy in his hand, and we can see that he does not. So things are looking a little bit rough for Orange here. Might even need to just go with Valeera the Hollow this turn, and then try to clear the board with smaller minions next turn. The issue with that being South Sea deckhand, with the Sonya Shadow Dancer, you can't actually just run it in 4 times to the Witchwood Grizzly. It doesn't die. Exactly.
The play dead picked up could allow for another Witchwood Grizzly to be pulled. Justsaiyan's biggest fear in life right now is the second Vanish. There are no Glacial Shards left on the side for Orange, so he doesn't have to worry about that defensive option. He has to worry about Chargers coming in and being able to get cloned into the hand from Orange, or the Scale Hides coming in for the healing. Those are all scary things that Quest Rogue can do, but the biggest is the Vanish, which would just remove this entire board, leaving Justsaiyan defenseless and allowing Orange to reload and win the game. So as long as that isn't picked up, you have to feel kind of okay as the hunter, and I believe you're just supposed to play as the fact that it's never going to be picked up. You can't. If the second Vanish comes out, I think you lose. I think that's just life. If they complete the quest and then vanish afterwards, you're done. So what I really like doing as the hunter is not trying to play around it very much. King Crush being played here plays towards the idea where if Justsaiyan can top deck a cube, he can cube play dead the King Crush for a ridiculous amount of damage.
Especially with how full Saiyan's hand is and the order that he played the minions on the board. Even if he were to play a couple cards from hand and the Vanish were to come out, the Mossy Horror and the Devil Sword would be the minions that are bounced back to hand while everything else is destroyed. You would get the Death Rattle from Katharina. The next Grizzly is nice, but the only real way to close out this game in 2 turns, ideally, is to just play like that Vanish isn't there.
We're maybe seeing double Giggling Inventor come out from Orange just to get that giant wall of taunts.
God, that feels bad to play against.
Yeah, it's just so much defense.
It's like all of this work that you put into, carefully building up your board, trying to get a little bit of an advantage here and there, and man, these Inoyotrons are very difficult to get through. Saiyan does have the Spider Bomb as well as Play Dead, so he can remove 1 minion from Orange's side of the board, and then Zilliax can be magnetized, and that gains Rush as well as Divine Shield.
He's also got the Rexar, which isn't a terrible option for trying to knock out the shields and then be able to take trades.
Yeah, absolutely. Rexar here would actually be just 8 damage to face for Saiyan.
Yeah, it looks like not going to be going for the Rexar. I'm going to be saving that for a little bit. Oh, no, he is going for the Rexar with the coin.
Okay.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. I was really surprised that he wasn't playing the Rexar.
It's about as good as Rexar is going to get from here on out.
And you see he's just not respecting the Vanish at all. He's not like saving gas in the tank. He's not saving play deads for reloads. He's just putting everything he can out on the board and saying, you're not going to get the second Vanish. And, if that's the case, he has a decent shot of winning this one.
Yeah, I mean, even keeping his board as wide as possible, completely disrespecting that Vanish. But again, playing the way he has to, playing like it is not there. And Orange does have a draw for it if he wants it. 2 draws with double Novice. He does need to be aware of overdraw potential, however.
Fan of Knives here isn't too bad for cleaning up some of the minions on the board either. He's got the heal of the Scale Hide. He has like lots of ways that can stall a lot of time.
Yeah.
But he does have a lot of his deck that he still has to go through in order to try and find the Vanish. All of the chargers coming out. So much pressure coming out onto the board. Sonya calming down. The Wax Elemental going to be able to protect it. Hunter does not have great ways to remove 4/4s beyond the taunt. So it's probably going to stick around to be able to give him another Wax Elemental.
Crazy power of Sonya Shadow Dancer in this deck.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd. Even without the Vanish, just look at all these 4/4s just being able to charge in and take care of everything.
It's almost ludicrous how much easier it is for Quest Rogue to do what the Hunter has desperately been trying to do this entire game. And it seems like Saiyan finally had a little bit of an advantage. He was doing everything right. Orange didn't have second Vanish, but the power level of the minions later on in the game, you know, Orange just Reno'd himself back up to 30. He's got board advantage again. Every minion that Saiyan kills is just going to give more minions in hand for Orange. This is just, it's futile at this point.
I thought the first Vanish was maybe a little bit too safe and a little bit too early, but, you know, ends up being absolutely fine for Orange. He's able to, without having Vanish, still stabilize the board just by having the quest done and being far enough ahead. So the extra safe route happens to be really good here for him.
Saiyan looking for the Miracle Beast, maybe Bloat Bat plus Poisonous, but then you need some way to charge it.
It's an uphill battle for sure, and if you're able to take out this board, it generally repopulates pretty quick because Orange is in Death Knight mode. He's able to get 2 copies of whatever card he chooses. Mind Control tech's a bit interesting.
Yeah, maybe there's a world where Cube and Terror Scalar Cube play dead onto Grizzly could draw this one out for a while longer. This Grizzly's gonna die pretty fast.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Orange to run out of gas here. He has infinite combos using the Zola, the Gorgon here. He's able to play multiple copies of it every single turn.
Yeah, that's it.
Justsaiyan's hope there was to run Orange out of fuel, but it's pretty impossible to do when your opponent can play 12/12 of stats without using any cards every single turn for the rest of the game.
So, again, echoing a point that you brought up earlier, Firebat, Justsaiyan and his practice group have been banning Rogue with this lineup.
Every single time, yeah.
Except for this time.
Except for this time, yeah. So it's a little interesting, and he still has options against the Rogue. He has even Warlock, which I would say is severely unfavored against the Quest Rogue.
Yeah.
And then he has the Odd Rogue, which I think is favored slightly, but is a pretty close matchup. And in a last year a standing format like this, it's pretty ballsy to rely on a soft counter to take out one of the most effective, you know, killer decks in the format.
I would not be that brave.
Yeah.
Not at all. And I definitely get why Saiyan wanted to get that Warrior out of there, why he did want to ban the Warrior, because he brought Token Druid himself.
Well,
but again, Orange got the better of the ban strategy.
Yeah, it's the Odd Warrior versus Token Druid matchup is a really fascinating one. We saw Muzzy able to take that as the Token Druid on stream, and Muzzy is one of the people that if you talk to him and you ask who's favored in that matchup, he'll say, I believe that the Token Druid is favored. The new build's a Token Druid.
If the Odd Warrior does not have Whirlwind, then I agree.
Yeah.
I think Token Druid is very resilient. Saiyan is going to bring out that Odd Rogue. Like you said, it's probably his best bet here to be able to get a win.
Yeah, it should be able to perform pretty well. The Quest Rogue from Orange is running the one of Stone Tusk Boar and the one of Mimic Pod and the 2 copies of Fan of Knives, similar to most of the players in the tournament. That seems to be the trending version of Quest Rogue with the 1 Stone Tusk Boar.
Do you like taking out a boar?
I think it's kind of weird. I like either taking out 2 boars or taking out 0 boards. It's kind of interesting to have the only 1 in there because I like to sometimes be able to have the option to complete the quest on the boar. So just all one of minions are just really weird in Quest Rogue to me.
Yeah, seems like you might be hurting your game plan some of the time, and if you do take out the boars, then the matchup for Warrior does get a little bit better. It's a weird call.
But it's a call that's been made by a lot of the top players. We've seen on stream, almost every player playing Quest Rogue is running 1 Stone Tusk board, 2 fans, 1 Mimic Pod. So it's a very popular tech choice.
And the deck is so powerful right now that you can get away with trying out some wackier things in an LHS format and, you know, getting rewarded because of, you know, strictly the strength of the deck as a whole. And to be fair, I expected to see more Tempo Mage across the board. I think that a lot of the players did as well and prepared for that, and that's just not the case.
It's interesting that that didn't make more of an appearance. You'd think it's got to be the best counter deck to Quest Rogue in the entire game. Vicious Fledgling is a must-kill minion, so Orange has to kind of take care of this, otherwise it's going to snowball out of control. Obviously, we'll probably see the deckhands come in to do that job.
Could see Orange try and leverage this Novice Engineer like he did in the last game with that Shadow Step, but that does seem like a bit of an early commitment.
Justsaiyan's Odd Rogue list only has 1 copy of Blood Knight. On standard ladder deck, you usually see 2 copies of Blood Knight. He opts for 1 Blood Knight, 1 Tar Creeper, and then 1 of Edwin Van Cleef. So a little bit interesting on the Odd Rogue tech. And it might cost him a little bit because Giggling Inventor is probably going to come out from Orange a lot of times this game.
And a lot earlier than after the quest is completed.
Deadly Poison the Face. Justsaiyan really prioritizing going face rather than developing a minion on this board.
That's crazy aggressive.
Yeah, he's trying to just set up for the Captain Greenskin there. Try and push another 10 damage going forward. The one card that would really punish him in this scenario would be a Giggling Inventor.
You mean like that Giggling Inventor?
Like exactly that Giggling Inventor right there.
You don't say.
Orange has the option to Shadow Step it to try and play around SI7 sort of plays that would kill the 2-1 body.
Oh, we do it.
Yeah, you do it. You don't value 2 damage with this deck. Going face for 2 doesn't matter.
Jeez, look at Saiyan's face. He's just... He's feeling a little defeated.
He looks sad, for sure. He is very hunched over and slumped down. Orange is also hunched over, but he's hunched over in a, like, the hand-on-forehead power focus pose, whereas Justsaiyan's more hand-on-cheek, sad depression pose. But he's transitioning. You saw it moves closer to the forehead. He's starting to regain focus on something.
Okay, he's thinking. Maybe something promising that he's finding with the hand?
Praying for a Blood Knight a little bit.
Ah.
But,
putting all of his mental energy into moving that Blood Knight to the top of his deck.
Right. The hand's not that bad. He has the Hench Clan Thug. It's just the play that he went for got super hard punished by Giggling Inventor. He went for a play that sets up this Captain Greenskin beautifully, but this is the risk.
I do think, for the record, that the play that he went for was correct. I think being as aggressive as humanly possible in this matchup is going to be the right thing to do, and if Orange has the Giggling Inventor, you know, hopefully you have the 1 copy of Blood Knight as a counter, but if you don't, I mean, there's no B strategy for Odd Rogue. You can't just win the game by not hitting them in the face as fast as possible.
Right, yeah.
Then Arcanite Reapering them to the dome is just, you know.
Yeah, if you're going to play Captain Greenskin, you better set it up and use it, right? That's why it's in the deck. Orange does not have any bouncers remaining for this Giggling Inventor, so this wave of taunts could be short-lived. He does have the Vanish, which can act as a bouncer at some point later on in the game.
If he could stick that Giggling Inventor, vanish that back. There's no more powerful play than just dropping the Giggling Inventor again this turn. If Saiyan can deal with the board, I mean, I suppose there's a possibility that Orange draws into a couple of different weak minions and maybe has a difficult time completing the quest.
Well, what Justsaiyan needs now is just an SI7, something that can kill off the 2-1 body of the Giggling Inventor so that it can't be brought back to the hand for Orange. He's already committed a Shadow Step on it. You can start making the quest very awkward for Orange to complete. So priority number 1 on Saiyan's mind right now is, how do I kill the 2-1 part of Giggling Inventor? And I wouldn't be too surprised at all to see him Vilespine it.
Yeah.
I would immediately Vilespine that if I was in his shoes. As Shadow Step's been committed on it, we can tell now Orange probably doesn't have a Youthful Brewmaster in his hand or things of that nature, otherwise we would have picked it up. So completing the quest is going to be difficult for Orange to do. That's going to buy you a lot of time to get in some weapon swings and make something happen.
I wonder.
Still got to get through all these Inoyotrons, but you'd certainly rather, you know, cut off the head of the Hydra right here, not have to deal with more Inoyotrons.
Yeah, that needs to die.
Most threatening 2-1 in the game.
Yeah. Imagine if Orange has like Sonya or something beyond that.
Oh yeah.
He turns into a mess really quickly.
Here we go.
So Saiyan has some chances here. Orange is only at 16. Saiyan has a lot of damage. The green skin is able to push, you know, a huge weapon over the course of the time.
This damage does add up very quickly for Saiyan. Find a Cold Blood, connect face with a minion in the Leroy, game's over.
There's no way of really progressing on the quest too meaningfully at the moment. He's gonna have to like dagger up in Glacial Shard and probably just bide his time a little bit. Committing a Vanish here seems kind of soft. You know, you'd have to prep Vanish and you're really not accomplishing anything. Throwing a Vile Spine back to your opponent's hand is not all that helpful. And his health total is stable enough that he can definitely afford to pass a few turns here. So the slow route for Orange seems to be probably ideal, waiting to try and find another gig. Oh, I'm surprised.
Really?
I'm surprised. He's really aggressively trying to make his way towards that quest. He removed 6 mana of his own board and 5 mana of his opponent's board, and his opponent's minion was a battle cry.
I suppose that Orange could...
He's trying to quest on...
Anoyotron.
Yeah, he's going to quest on the Anoyotrons, I guess, or the Scalehide. Playing both Anoyotrons, he'd be up to 2 on the Anoyotrons. Playing the Scalehide, he's up to 2 on the Scalehide. So he's still really far away from making this quest happen.
Yeah.
A lot of question marks for that Vanish, for sure. It seemed like the board, he had time there. It seemed like he could have waited.
I mean, his hand's not helping him out much at all, to be fair, but this just leaves an open route for Saiyan to hit face with whatever he wants this turn.
You were ahead on tempo and you just gave it all to your opponent.
And essentially, you're conceding one of the minions that you play on board again because you just sent a Vile Spine Slayer back to the hand.
He didn't even include like the Glacial Shard in the Vanish to start maybe potentially questing on that either. That Vanish, I don't know, it's interesting to see what he's going to do now. He's got a plan, right? He's got some sort of thing that he's going for to try and complete this quest in a timely manner.
Honestly, I think this is just him saying, my hand's not doing me any favors. I need to draw into the perfect cards. And of course, when he gets Valera down, Death Shadow is going to help him out quite a bit. But can he afford to wait until like turn 11 to complete this quest? Probably not. It's probably dead by then.
Wow, with 2 Vanishes in Valera, my argument is he could wait till turn 11, but he just used a Vanish on his own board rather than his opponent's board, and that's going to make it a heck of a lot harder to wait till turn 11 because you threw away a Vanish. Yeah,
he's kind of, that's what I'm saying. I think the Vanish was him saying that he can't wait that long, but by doing that, he's forced himself to wait that long.
Well, he's going to be able to... Potentially, his goal here is to Vanish again, bringing back the Anoyotrons, play the Anoyotrons again, and then he only needs 1 bouncer to complete it, which is going to be the Zola that's in his hand now. So he does have a setup to be able to complete the quest, albeit a very expensive setup, where if one of these Anoyotrons die, the setup's not going to work. And so Justsaiyan is probably just going to Vile Spine one of these Anoyotrons, because he's going to be able to figure out this information. He saw the Vanish come out. Why would that Vanish come out? What is the goal of that Vanish? The purpose of taking a negative Vanish there would be to try and set up ways to do the quest. He immediately plays out 2 Anoyotrons. You have to have Vanish on your mind as something that he's trying to follow this up with. And either way, Justsaiyan doesn't really have a lot of other options.
Nope, we're not playing Myras here.
Yeah.
And we're not playing Leroy, so...
And you're probably not going to Vile Spine the 2-1.
This does seem to be the best line of play. And again, going for this strategy from Orange, knowing that he has access to exactly 5 Anoyotrons if both of them get vanished, but also having full information that there is a Vile Spine Slayer in hand for Saiyan, seems very optimistic to me that Orange was going to be able to bounce both these Anoyotrons.
Yeah. So he's still 1 bouncer short of completing the quest. He could Zola for like the 3rd Anoyotron, but what's happening there? He could Zola for the Anoyotron, play the Anoyotron, then prep Vanish 2 Anoyotrons to be able to complete the quest on them. So he still has an activator to be able to complete the quest next turn if he wants to go that route. He has to utilize the prep in the process, and he has to end the turn with 0 minions on board. But it does work.
Then next turn he'd have to play the 2 Anoyotrons again, complete the quest. He would have the mana to play the quest.
Yeah. When he committed to the Vanish, he didn't have the Zola in his hand.
No.
He's going for the prep vanish here. Okay. He gets the Annoyatron back. This is Annoyatron number 3. And he can Zola for Annoyatron number 4. So he didn't get the vanish on 2 Annoyatrons this turn, but he's got the vanish on 1 Annoyatron. So he's still 1 bouncer short for being able to complete the quest. He's going to be relying on top decking either 1 of Shadow Step or 2 of Youthful Brewmaster going forward to be able to complete the quest, right?
He just really valued having a body on the board this turn, which I agree with.
Yeah, he needs to stop the damage somehow, and the Vile Spine's going to come right back out, right? That Vile Spine is getting some mileage.
Persistent little bugger.
Yeah. And now what Orange is going to be able to do with this line of play, saying I'm going to play defensive this turn, set up Valera for 9, and I can go Annoyatron, Annoyatron after that, and complete the quest. So he's going to have a quest completion on turn 10 this way.
That is late for Quest Rogue.
So Justsaiyan should be knowing this. He should know that Orange either has to complete the quest next turn with Youthful Brewmaster or Shadow Step on his Annoyatron, or has to play Valera to complete it. He's going to be having 18 life total, so that's not too bad. And then his play after this,
stable.
if he doesn't have a prep, is going to be Annoyatron, Annoyatron, Glacial Shard, Quest. So he is going to have a healthy amount of stats. He's going to be able to freeze something and put out 2 4/4 Taunt Divine Shields, which might be just enough to get the job done. Justsaiyan's draws here have been less than optimal. He has not had a lot going for him with the Leroy, the Myras, and then multiple 1-drop/Tar Creeper being picked up all along here. What he really needed was something that applies pressure, a Fungal Mancer, a Hench Clan Thug, even the Edwin Van Cleef.
Yep.
But he's been kind of forced to just Vile Spine for almost every turn of the game.
Well, if he wants to take the turn to Myra's, now would be the time.
Yeah, kind of has to. There's not really any other option. It's not like Tempo Leroy is going to really do anything for him. He's hoping to try and find a way to shut down the 2 Annoyatrons here. A second Vile Spine would have been pretty helpful to find. Not a lot of these cards are very solid pickups for him. It's looking like Orange might be able to just get there narrowly enough.
Cold Blood is damaged, Fungal Mancer's damaged, but nothing is damaged through these 2 4/4 Annoyatrons. Greenskin's going to be frozen. And Orange is still at a very healthy 18 with a Vicious Scalehide and a Death Shadowed Vicious Scalehide to play next turn. I think this is over.
Yeah. I mean, I must say, I really didn't like the early vanish, but I really liked the way he navigated after that to, make things work.
Now, 2 games in a row and the early vanish has worked out really well for Orange. It does seem like both games he went into it with a bit of a YOLO mentality on the backswing, just hoping that he would draw into, the correct tools that he needed, and it worked out for him.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. He had a really awkward hand, and he found a way. He found a line that could make it work all right enough.
So this means that Saiyan is going to have to perform the Orange Special, which is going to be a reverse sweep with the Even Warlock. However, it will be very, very difficult to get that win against Quest Rogue.
Right, Even Warlock has sometimes able to get some early wins with just giant pressure, but there are some answers in the Quest Rogue for that. There are Glacial Shards that can do wonders for shutting down those giants early on in the game, so it's not a very good matchup for the Even Warlock, but it is a winnable matchup.
Clearly, it's one that Saiyan did not want to go into. He elected to bring out this Odd Rogue first.
The Odd Rogue's his counter to Quest Rogue. That's one of the purposes of it in the lineup is, according to the stats, Odd Rogue is very favored against Quest Rogue, but I think this is one of the stats where if you look at top players and you really analyze the data, it's a lot closer than the data gives it credit for.
Yeah, I mean, we're assuming that these players are going to have optimal mulligans, optimal strategy. They know how the game operates. It should be closer than just ladder statistics indicate.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, Saiyan, he's got a very powerful board finally, and he's got 10 damage in hand to throw to face if he could get to face.
Yeah, everything's gonna die. / be frozen.
That's gonna be the concede.
Followed up with double Giggling Inventor after this. Yeah.
Oh,
just brutal for him.
That is the face of A sad Saiyan. Orange going up to a 2-0 lead. Are we going to see our second Quest Rogue sweep of the day?
Yeah, I think it's very likely. And both Quest Rogue sweeps were by or against players that were relying on Odd Rogue to be their deck that beats Quest Rogue. And we've seen a few times on stream that's not a reliable strategy.
It's unfortunate. Odd Rogue was looking very powerful coming into this tournament. It certainly has its fair share of powerful matchups, but just disrespecting the Quest Rogue, not giving the ban to the Quest Rogue, instead electing to ban out the Warrior here for Saiyan. Really coming back to bite him. I mean, I personally would love to hear his thought process behind this ban strategy.
Right, if there were some mind games going on or something.
For sure.
That's one of the issues with having, you know, a group that prepares together, and then if you're all banning the exact same thing, word around the tournament venue can spread pretty quickly that you're banning, your entire group of players are all banning this exact class every single time, and then players can maybe prepare against that in certain ways or what have you, so the mind games ensue after that. It's kind of play to your advantage a little bit to be kind of a lone wolf sometimes, where people are less aware of what your game plan is.
That's why in pretty much every DreamHack event we do see that rogue player coming out of left field. Somebody, you know, new to the scene you haven't heard of before, who's brought some weird stuff, but nobody can get a read on him. They don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. But these players have pretty good reads on each other. They've played against each other, I would say, double digits amount of times in tournaments at this point.
Yeah, they're at just about everything.
Into our strength.
The Glacial Shard is in the hand for Orange. That's one of the key cards in the matchup. Other key cards being things like the Elven Minstrel, Mimic Pod, stuff that allow you to draw a bunch of fuel, a bunch of gas to be able to complete your quest. So very powerful opening hand for Orange. Not the most powerful, but I would say generally a favorable hand for the matchup.
For Saiyan, he's going to be looking for the Mountain Giant, the Twilight Drake. Just big stuff that he can try and stick on the board in the early game.
Yeah.
And hopefully win within the first 6 turns of the game.
Yeah, not seeing the Giant in the mulligan, he ends up just going for the coin 2-drop, and he's just going to play this hand out, coin 2-drop into 2-drop, maybe try and on turn 3 tap into even another 2-drop and just kind of zerk down the opponent here, play a very Zooey style of even Warlock.
The old acidic swamp ooze hit him in the face strat.
Yeah, the deck does run a lot of different 2-drops, so it could kind of work out for him. Not as many as some of the other players have elected to run, and he does have the Doomsayers over, which would be normally a different kind of 2-drop that can help fight for the board a little bit better.
Well, Plated Beetle's putting in work here.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Oh my gosh, he's got it.
Ooze him.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, because he has gone for this 2-drop strategy, the Mountain Giant is going to be a couple turns away.
Right.
But still not
matter.
bad.
There's the Glacial Shard kept for Orange is pretty useless against this swarm of 2-drops. Even Warlock may not be favored against Quest Rogue, but you know what is? Zoo.
Just because it doesn't say Zoo on paper doesn't mean we can't play it.
Right.
Just got to get creative. That's a perfect draw.
Yeah, it's a little small because he hasn't been tapping, but you know, it's good enough, I'd say. Just playing his minions as aggressively as possible and trying to hit Orange in the face while Orange is trying to play defensively. He already has the Vanish. He's sitting really pretty. He's got double Glacial Shard now, so he can start even trying to bounce on the Glacial Shards, maybe have a few of them stick to the board going into turn 6 so he can vanish them back for the quest. Is a very powerful option for the Quest Rogue. The alternative option here, of course, is going for the Elven Minstrel, trying to find more tools, not committing hard to questing on the Glacial Shard, making sure you can save it as an answer for the Giants.
Seems reasonable. An all-in strategy of Shard, Brewmaster Shard would have been...
I mean, I thought he was going to do it. He loves the early vanishes, so I was like, he's going to set up the early vanish, and I'm going to sound really smart because I'm going to call it. And this is the one game he doesn't go for the early vanish.
He swerved, Firebat.
Yeah.
He swerved on us.
He's mixing it up.
We're getting mixed signals from you, Orange.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
How do you really feel about the early vanish?
No idea. He liked it the first game, so he tried it again the second game. I guess he didn't like it the second game, so the third game he's bailing out again.
It's a hard man to read.
Right. I mean, that's a good thing when you're a card game player.
Yeah. Trade off that Shard. Saiyan does not want to make Orange's life any easier for him. And I would think we're going to see Shard Brew this turn, set up for Shard Vanish next turn.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable. And you have the Brewmaster left on the field. Your opponent kind of has to respect that and trade into it. You can even put the Wax Elemental in the way, try and protect that Brewmaster so that maybe you can vanish the Brewmaster back and then, you know, continue making progress on the quest that way.
Yeah, you're never going to complete quest with Wax Elemental, and it's nice to have it around as a 4/4 in the late game, but you know what else is a 4/4 with Divine Shield? Anoyotrons.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of those.
Right. You don't really need too many taunts, generally speaking. You just need to complete the quest in a timely fashion, so protecting the Brewmaster is pretty important for setting up that vanish. This is shard number 2. If he picks it up with Brewmaster, he'll have shard number 3 in hand. If he picks it up with Vanish, that'll be shard number 4. And if he picks up the Brewmaster with the Vanish as well, then it would be shard number 5. So if this Brewmaster is sticked and he's able to go shard and vanish the shard plus the Brewmaster, he will be able to complete the quest in a quite timely fashion on the Glacial Shard. So Justsaiyan should be aware of the potential Shard Vanish coming up and should prioritize killing this Brewmaster if he can. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see him forgo the Mountain Giant and instead go with the Spellstone on the Brewmaster to try and disable this play from Orange, knowing the 7 mana is coming up for him.
Vulgar Homunculus doesn't do a whole lot for Saiyan. It would heal him for an extra 1 life, but the life tap probably more impactful.
Well, if you kill the Youthful Brewmaster, your opponent may opt to not go for the Vanish, so it's always nice to maybe have a 2/4 in play in that instance. I imagine that's what he's debating right now, though. Is it better to get the card out there, or is it better to go for the tap? And he is going to side with getting the minion in play. It took him a while there to decide, though. He almost went for that tap.
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
I probably would have tapped, but I mean, what more is he really looking for? He's got Mountain Giant in hand, he has Gul'dan. He's not low enough for Hooked Reaver to be relevant just yet, and if it gets to the point where Orange has a giant board of 4/4s and cards in hand, Saiyan's probably lost the game already.
Right. The crucial thing here is if the Vanish doesn't happen and he's not having cards added to his hand, the Giant will cost 7 next turn, so he can still play it even after dumping the Vulgar Homunculus.
The Shadow Step drawn off the top does mean the Glacial Shard can be played, bounced, played, and the quest played next turn for Orange.
Yeah, so that is most likely going to be pretty much easy street after the quest gets done for Orange. Notably, he does not have any preparations right now, so that makes the quest progress a little bit slower. As well, he doesn't have Sonya yet. Getting Sonya is really key in this matchup because once you've completed the quest, if you have Sonya, you can then simply trade any charger infinitely into Mountain Giants and win the game that way.
Oh, it's nuts.
Yeah, as well as Twilight Drakes, because the Twilight Drakes have the 4 attack. Any minions with 4 attack or higher, just charge into them over and over again, clear the board, and heal to full health if it's a scale hide and win the game from there. So he's just missing, you know, 1 or 2 pieces to bring everything together. But I imagine Orange is pretty happy about the situation.
This feels so bad for Saiyan. Playing the Mountain Giant, knowing it's going to get frozen, knowing Orange is probably going to finish the quest this turn, but he has nothing better to do.
He's really hoping that Orange doesn't go Glacial Shard, Shadow Step, Glacial Shard, play the quest. And he's going to be really sad when that's exactly what's about to happen.
I wonder.
How do you feel about Bone Mare coming back into Even Warlock?
They needed another threat. There's a little bit of struggle with Even Warlock closing against Odd Warrior sometimes, and even against Druid with the Naturalizers if they don't get the Skulking Geist early enough. So they're like, what threat could we possibly play that's an even cost late game minion that's any good? And it ends up being that, well, we don't really like Gruul that much, so I guess we'll play Bone Mare, because there's just not a lot of good options.
Type it into Google, Gruul comes up first, you say, nah.
Yeah, it's...
Take the number 2 option, Bone Mare looks good.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of great even cost threats that aren't already in the deck, so that also work well with the theme of the deck. So Bone Mare, I think, is more so there just as the 30th card as an extra threat to shore up some of those control matchups rather than being like, Bone Mare's so good again.
It's not ideal, but you know what? We work with what we've got.
Yeah, exactly.
And you saw when Orange played that Shadow Step onto the Shard, Saiyan just kind of looked around as though he was like, is this serious? Is he really doing this?
Yeah.
And he really, really is. This has just been Orange's series.
He can still gas out here. It's not over yet. He does pick up a very powerful top deck with the Giggling Inventor, but two Mountain Giants are on the board, threatening to, you know, kill him at this point. But the Vanish could help out with that at some point.
Ooh.
He doesn't need to use it quite yet.
Trying to remember exactly what order these minions were played in. They revert back to the hand in that same order.
Yeah, so it was like Giant, then Homunculus, right? And then
I think so.
And then Drake, then Giant. So you would get a Giant and a Homunculus back after the Vanish. One Giant, one Drake being, you know, killed in the crosshairs here.
There's that face again.
Yeah, that's that Vanish was a pretty strong top deck. It killed a Giant and a Twilight Drake, as well as giving the tempo right back to Orange. It's going to be even more of an uphill battle now for Justsaiyan.
Probably just going to see Giant Drake Homunculus back on board again.
Yeah. Not a lot of options. Orange gets to, you know, replay the Novice Engineer, keep making his way through his deck, looking for that Death Knight, looking for that Sonya. Once Sonya's picked up, it's over.
Yes.
He's Justsaiyan needs to play these big minions to pressure, and if the big minions are on the field, then Sonya will heal Orange to full health with the Vicious Scalehide. He's going with the Vicious Scalehide now.
Interesting.
I think you should go for the Novice and, you know, count on Sonya for a little bit longer. He's afraid of using Glacial Shard as his main source of defense, as Spellbreaker could come out, allowing the Giant to connect, but
Generally, you want to draw and then evaluate.
yeah. I think, yeah. I think being a little bit more patient, waiting on that Sonya just a little bit longer, give it one more turn maybe before you start trying to, you know, panic heal. Yeah, I like this play a lot better than Scalehide, but you can tell he's Orange is in a favored position, and it seems like he tends to play when he feels very confident and when he feels like he's in a very strong position to win the game. He tends to play extremely safe. You know, we saw the early Vanishes from before in the favorable matchups. We saw him just now mousing over the Scalehide. He does not want to throw a game from a favored position. That's what's on his mind right now, is what is the safest possible line I can do.
I get that. It's the old, if I play around absolutely everything and I'm winning, I should not be able to lose.
Right. Which, it sounds good, but sometimes doesn't end up quite working that way. But
Yeah.
right now, Saiyan actually almost has lethal.
Sometimes you forget about something.
15 damage coming through, and that's why he was leaning towards that Scalehide. He was afraid of, like, exactly this sort of thing happening, where he could push a bunch of damage. But Saiyan waiting on the big push of the damage there, not going to be silencing anything or doing anything of that nature.
Queuing up that concede. Double Scalehide and Giggling Inventor is a hell of a lot of defensive potential here for Orange.
Yeah.
There's that Zola.
Yeah, last turn, Saiyan could have went the Hellfire first, then the Defile. I think would have been a little bit
I
stronger
hope
for
you
him.
like my invention.
Or am I missing something? No, never mind, never mind. Yeah, that clearly wouldn't work. Okay. The interaction with the Divine Shields can be a little awkward.
Yeah.
Still no Sonya for Orange, though, so he can't heal to full health, and he's going to be just taking the little bit of healing that he has right now, knowing that if he kills these minions, there's not too much left. All the Giants are gone, all the Drakes are gone. There hasn't been too many Demons played for Justsaiyan, so Gul'dan doesn't really do anything.
That is going to be the extent of the healing from Vicious Scalehide for Orange, however.
Yeah.
Still have the 5 armor from Valera the Hollow in the deck. That's a dead draw. But, again, it's getting to the point where Orange, there may be a chance that he gasses out in the future, and Siphon Life can help to make that a reality for Saiyan. He's still going to need, you know, Second Defile, a Hellfire.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the removal that he needs right now.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for Justsaiyan is there's not really any dead draws in the deck for Orange. Everything is pretty much gas. There's no backstabs, there's nothing like that. Everything is either a 4-4 or a card that draws a card, which is then a 4-4. So there's not really any weak draws for the Quest Rogue to get at this point in the game.
This Death Shadow with Zola the Gorgon is going to mean that Orange will never run out of threats as long as he sequences them correctly. And with no big board in play for Saiyan to Maybe silence some threats and push a surprise amount of damage. This one is looking like Orange is gonna take a 3-0 victory here.
Yeah, almost undoubtedly. Gets to go Stone Test Boar, Zola, Zola, Zola every turn for the rest of the game.
Rough series for Saiyan. Definitely going to be maybe regretting not banning out this rogue a little bit. Would love to hear what his mentality was behind this ban decision. But either way, Orange in 2 consecutive rounds, both featured on stream. He's going to take a victory, and he's going to go to a 4-0 record in the first day of this tournament. Orange undefeated in match record. He's got 5 rounds to play tomorrow, but setting himself in a really nice position to make yet another top 16 cut at a DreamHack event.
Yeah, happy to see it. Orange is a really strong player, great guy. I lived with him for a while in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to be around.
You live with everyone.
Yeah, at some point or another, pretty much. In the Hearthstone scene, I've been around. But yeah, Orange, happy to see him continuing to have success. You know, he's kind of old school. He's a veteran, and it's cool to see him win with something that's not Malagos Druid, too. We saw him able to do tons of work with his Even Warlock. Now we saw him able to do tons of work with his Quest Rogue. But typically, over the last couple of months, people have been calling him just kind of a Malagos Druid specialist.
Yeah.
But he's really showing off the fact that he's a really well-rounded player.
And he does stream quite a bit. You get to see what he's playing at any point in time, what he's hitting high legend on ladder with, but certainly proving that he's very well-rounded and bringing, you know, 3 of the most powerful decks in the format, but sequencing them correctly, having solid ban strategy, all in all looking quite good for him. Saiyan at a 3-1 record now, taking a loss in the 4th round of this tournament. Definitely better than taking a loss before now. Tiebreakers are going to be really valid. We don't know for sure if you know, the breakpoint's going to be 6-3, if it'll be 7-2. There are about 160 players at the tournament, so we're going to have to wait until tomorrow to find out exactly what the record is that is necessary to make that top 16 cut. I definitely want to win out from here. Just get that 8-1, and sure, you're in the top 16. But you know, there are worse things than taking a loss in round 4.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely true. Your tiebreakers should be good. The best way, though, to have good tiebreakers is to never lose and not have to rely on them.
Yeah, that would be the dream. But unfortunately here for Saiyan, this was just not his series. Getting a reasonable matchup with the Odd Rogue against the Quest. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way. And then the other games looking rather dominant there for Orange. So potentially we could be seeing maybe a run for another DreamHack title for Orange. But that is it for our first match of this round. Our next match is going to be Impact versus Yarla. We're going to be getting that set up, and we will be back with our next match very shortly.